Yo, what's up guys? Say Chronicles here, new video, and this is Guild Siege. So this is the first time we actually have Guild Siege. Oh, interesting fact right away, we can play against the other servers' guilds. We're pretty much a top or high-end guild on our own half, so I'm not entirely sure if these hits are going to be that hard. I'm also not entirely sure how this is going to work. Can I actually tag towers like we do in Sky Arena? Apparently that's not the case. We do see some higher defenses here. We see some lower defense. So I kind of think it's mixed up. It seems that the guild on the right side is stronger than the guild on the left side. I am not entirely sure how many hits we have actually in the first place. So this is going to be pretty interesting. None of us ever did the whole siege thing before, so we're just going to try it out. We're just going to hit things. If I'm not mistaken, from what I've seen from the videos from other people, is that you have a certain amount of hits and certain amount of times that you can hit. And you have kind of the energy thing, and when you finished all of those, you cannot hit anymore. But let's actually look at how that works, how many times can we hit. But before we get into the video, I would like to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is the Huawei AppGallery. With the Huawei AppGallery, you can install your games or any other software, and you can get nice discounts on all of them. So in the case for Summoners War Chronicles, we can search for Summoners War Chronicles. Once you see it over there, you can open the game from that, and you can see the current campaigns that they're running. How do you get all of this? Well, simply, you have to download the Huawei AppGallery, which is in the link down below. Afterwards, you install the HMS core, which you will create an account on, and then you select a region of any of the European countries. Once that is selected, you go for the Summoners War Chronicles, you install Summoners War Chronicles, and right away at the Summoners War Chronicles page, you also see what kind of campaigns they have running. Currently, we have this campaign running where you can have a 40% off every day. So how does that exactly work? Well, you can claim coupons, and these coupons are used towards a certain value, and then you can get that certain discount. So if you buy a pack that's over $100 or €100 in this case, we can have that coupon that has 22%. So in here, I can claim all of these coupons, and you can go into my coupons and you can see all of them. And oh, there's actually a limit of how many times I can claim them. Good to know, good to know. So definitely you can claim them a whole bunch of times. And then you can also check like, okay, which ones are the ones that I would like to claim. Highly recommend it's also joining their Discord, because if you have any problems with any of your purchases or anything related to the Huawei AppGallery, you can ask them in their Discord and they're very friendly to help you out with that. So how would that look like when we go into the game? Well, as you can see, I have the game running here on my phone. If I'm not mistaken, you can do this on emulators as well, installing the Huawei AppGallery over there. But in this case, I have it on my phone. There are a whole bunch of packs, but I'm actually looking for a pack right now that has that $100, so I can show the example of the $100. So we have one over here. This pack is 120. If we go for the discount on this, if we want to purchase it, we can see, okay, we have our purchasing methods on the right, but we can also see the coupon that we have on the left, which my head is slightly hovering on. There, if we click on it, it also shows what kind of coupons I still have left. And you have to double check that if it's using the right, that is the most value for what you're purchasing at that moment, because it doesn't always select the most value that you have at that moment. And in this way, I have a very nice discount of €22 for my purchase. Once I hit the payment method, it will go through the system of paying. And once you've done all of that, you can successfully purchase this back very easily with a very nice gift. So once again, I want to thank the Huawei AppGallery for sponsoring this video, and let's get into the video. Ooh, there's a Jaeger in there. Jaeger is pretty strong the moment you kill something else, and he has the ult coming up pretty fast. He is dark, so because of him being dark, I definitely want to add in Juno. I think I want to add in you. And I think I'll just go for like a safe team, because this seems a pretty strong team throughout. I think I'll go for these units all together this way. And we go for, should I go for dark as well? I think I will go for dark as well. So let's give that a try. And I think I want to kill the Jaeger first, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Yeah, probably will. So I actually will aim for Tessarion to also hit the Jaeger. He does have a form of sustain and that kind of stuff. Battlefield looks pretty dope. 4v4 is a little bit chaotic. We're not really used to that at all, so that will definitely be a thing. Can we kill that Jaeger pretty fast? Seems pretty low on the HP already. Jaeger, that's good sheet. So I think with this, we're already good to go, in honesty. Like, he's not gonna be able to recover from this anytime soon. All of my units are still looking pretty healthy. It is a little bit more chaotic of seeing like what is going on everywhere. Also, I'm losing the HP bars on units for some reason. That is a bug that sometimes happens in what's it called? In Battlefield, mainly, I haven't really seen it being happening here. Oh, wait, auto was on. So that's a thing that you have to keep in mind as well if you do this kind of stuff. You want to make sure that your auto is never on. Because if your auto is on, then instantly you're gonna go for, well, your random skills that you don't want. A trick with auto is actually, if you don't want your auto to do anything, oh, you cannot switch it here, that's weird. But if you want your auto to do nothing, you have to go out and then select it to actually press no skills. So you don't do the Q skill, you don't do the E skill, and therefore your auto will be on auto, but it doesn't actually actively do any of the skills. So in this case, that was relatively easy. Does this mean that I cannot use these units at all anymore? I'm not entirely sure. Let's actually look at that. I'm also not entirely sure how many hits I have with all of this. And I can't really mark any towers. But let's see if I hit something else, or I want to hit something else right now. Okay, I cannot use these units at all anymore, and I have 5 hits. So, okay, that's pretty fine. I guess I'm just gonna keep going, hitting 5 things. So technically, I would need 5 times 4 units, which is 20 units for offense. I guess that's... I think it's somewhat difficult for a lot of people that have been playing free-to-play because you don't scale up 20 units that easily. But if you're one of those, I would definitely aim for adding more skill ups to those net 4s, ruining those net 4s, and then just hitting the towers that are on the side. Because the side towers are actually net 4 towers. So you have the towers here, that's the 12. These are all net 4s. And actually, if you ruined your net 4s, you're probably a lot stronger than the net 4s on the enemy side. But since I have a lot of net 5s ruined, I think it would be a waste for me to not use all of those units that are ruined. Also keep in mind, at first I thought you can add 4 defenses per tower, but you can actually add 5. Because you have 4, but you can scroll 1 down. So that was kind of interesting, I didn't notice that at first. But let's see, should we just solo this whole tower? I think we totally can. So in this case, we have this unit. I don't really like that unit too much, but if we just add in armor breaks, more armor breaks, maybe a heal against this guy, because that guy could be pretty annoying. And then also something to snipe it out. So we're actually going to play it like this. And we're gonna do damage on that thing, so we're adding fire as well. And I think I can snipe out that Argon. Also, what's very interesting for defense mainly is that every defense can have a different element of your main character. In this case, this is actually a pretty bad example because his main damage dealer is wind, whereas his Orbia is also wind. So if your main damage dealer is wind, I would probably put Orbia on, well, something that's against that, right? That just makes a lot more sense. And it's somewhat annoying that we cannot really see the attack or the HP bars. You kind of, I think that's bugged or something. But the HP bars, you kind of have to look at them there because you only see 1 HP bar, or maybe that's a setting that I haven't set up properly right now. But yeah, as I mentioned before, we can fight any guild at the start. So there is good odds that we're fighting guilds that are way lower ranked than we are. So these fights are relatively easy. But in this case, it's more looking at like, okay, how does the structure work? If you hit something, what is useful? If you don't have too many units, definitely focus on those net 4s. You probably have a bunch of LD 4s, but there's also a whole bunch of normal net 4s. Actually, at the end of the video, I'll go into like the normal 4s that I think that are very powerful, that you could maybe focus on to getting these done. Okay, so I kind of already used my Tasari on counters. It could be tricky with this unit over there. I don't really like that unit all too much. There is some tricky stuff to this, so definitely at some point where you already used quite some of your units, you will get to a point like, ooh, I kind of used my counters against this already, which might be tricky. So in this case, I think I'm just gonna add a whole bunch of supports, put this thing on that. Would that be the way? This might actually be tricky. He does have quite a bit lower power than I do, though. I kind of feel like I have to use one of my 2 wind units, but neither of them are ruined that well, I would say. So that could be kind of tricky. I can also just add in Dova to add in a little bit more healing. And I'm actually going to put Bastet, so I can spam Bastet E, and I think I'll just go for the Assassin pretty hard. It is the issue, however, that you are tanking, which I don't really like. So I think I'm going to put you up front and then actually you, because otherwise you would be tanking against this, which you're not that great of. Like, you're a decent tank, but you're not the greatest tank. And I think Shushu should be able to heal decent amount. So that's definitely a thing that I kind of made the mistake already right now. I used too many of my support units. that it makes it somewhat hard to add in all of the other stuff later. Because now I have to fight a pretty team with a lot of damage, and I would have rather fought that with some more sustain rather than what I have right now. But in this case, I still kind of over damage it, and that does help out quite a bit. And yeah, okay, let's just say I hella overpowered this. Was this the right counter to everything? Not really, but I pretty much just overpowered this in this case, which does help out quite a bit as well, I guess. So that's also one way to do it. Just straight through, super overpower everyone in power, and then win your fights that way. But wait, he was fully unruined for... Yeah, okay, you also have to slap your guild if they don't actually put their defenses up together. I think he probably tried to equipment succession one of his equipments or something like that, and therefore he unequipped everything. So yes, you have to keep all of your stuff equipped if you actually want to kill anything. But since we're saying like, okay, we're going to clear this whole tower, we're going to clear this whole tower. I'm kind of out of net 5s that are properly ruined and stuff. So I'm gonna have to dig into my box of net 4s as well, which might be a little bit more iffy for the amount of power that I have. But I think it's still doable. He does have the dark one, which revives, which is not that great for me. Don't think I want to use Athena against this. That would be pretty tricky. I think I will keep this. Lynette is missing something, and that something is skill ups if I'm not mistaken. So you're losing a lot of power by that. We actually have a bunch of skill ups over here. Never really used her actually, to be honest, but I think she might be pretty decent for this as well. Okay, that's adding in a bunch more power. Actually, oh, it just finished the Deviling here. That's pretty nice. Okay, so we're just gonna go for those two. Am I gonna keep that skill in? Yeah, and I actually am going to focus this one. I rather would have a cleanse or immunity. Cleanse or immunity definitely would be nice, but I don't really have neither at the moment. Yeah, that's not too great, not too great. So yeah, for this you definitely have to dive in your monster box and monster pool to add in more units at some point to get all of your units in and get your cleanses in and get all of pretty much everything in, because your first 2-3 hits, as we've seen over here, look pretty easy. Afterwards you're like, ooh, I kind of used those units already. Ooh, I kind of used that already. So yeah, that's where things get a little bit more troublesome. So let's see how that goes for this fight. Oh wait, we still have tap on, which is not that great. Actually, the pool on 5 unit is pretty nice. I did get slapped over there. You also have Celia, which is not that great for me. Can we actually heal up a little bit? Thank you. Can I actually get rid of the freaking sleep? Well, he was also slapped, so since everything is like super pulled on each other, that's actually pretty nice for me right now. I don't really like that they have all kinds of... Can we actually strip all of that? I don't wow, that's... Lynette is pretty strong here, because you're just mobbing everyone. And when you mob everyone, things tend to die. He does still have the revive and stuff, but as long as he doesn't get his ult off... Wow, Lynette is strong here, holy shit. You pull like everyone on each other, and then you can just start doing a lot of AoE damage. It's pretty nice. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna have enough units for the next fight. This fight was already a lot more iffy than the first two. I do have 20 units ruined, but do I have 20 units ruined to the sake where I could say like, okay, I can clear this as well? Because this is going to be the time where I would say I've kind of used most of my useful stuff, which is not that great. I think we're gonna have to put you in, and for you I will actually switch around runes. Technically you don't really want to do that because, well, if you switch around runes... Wait, do they also show it for the right power right now? Yeah. If you switch around runes, then that also means that the unit that you have on defense is at that moment unruined, which you actually do not want. But I don't have rune sets for all of those units, so in this case I do have to switch out those runes and just work with it that way. Goal for this one is probably killing you first and then killing you second. That is the game plan, is it? Yes. And how we're going to speed up that process is actually setting up this, and then I'm just gonna Argon E on that thing, and that should die in one hit. That's game plan. So yeah, you can use net 4s in net 5 tower as well. You cannot do net 5 units in net 4s, of course. So let's see, let's right away target the unit from here on the left, and then just see that we can get a skill in from Argon as fast as possible, and we were able to. So with that, it makes things a lot easier. we can see that this unit, or the Ethna's pretty much killing that unit right over there pretty badly. And can kill it. We killed it. So in this case, we just killed this one while we're pretty much already in the Gucci. So in this case, most of my matches I actually did more on overpowering rather than putting in like the very good counters. But actually a Chloe is definitely one of those units on 4 stars. I'm gonna go over 4-star units because you don't have that many devil ones unless you willed a bit for adding in all of your 5 stars. But there's a whole bunch of 4 stars that we maybe haven't looked at that much. That might be pretty interesting for adding in for Siege. And therefore you can actually do your 20 hits right away a lot easier. So we already cleared 2 towers. What is this thing? Can you click on that? Okay, so in this case you have to place your new offenses on it. So in this case we probably still have a whole bunch of stuff. I'm kind of mainly looking for things that just have high power, and the high power ones we just add in. So 800k is the ones that are on the high side for us. Anything below that, well, yeah, it's just a little bit worse. But let's see, this one seems pretty high. And we have, this one seems pretty high. And the thing is, it would be nice if they order all of this from high power to low power as well, because it would just be a lot easier to find all of those things and add them in that way. But apparently that's not how they did it. So that would be, it's kind of ordered by person or something. I'm not entirely sure what they ordered it by. But it would be a lot more chill if we could order this by power, because then I'm just dropping in everything with the highest power and going from it that way, because that's just so much easier for me in general. But let's see, let's add in all of those powerhouse offenses, defenses, and everything. This one, I'm just filling in like multiple people from the same. I don't really mind. We're gonna have to fill it anyways. I'm not for the first siege just going to be strict on my guild of like, oh, you have to hit everything and everything like that. For the first one, it's just hit whatever, see how it works. We see that they have been hitting us as well. What else can we see here in the battle status? We can see that they did 25 hits, so I did all of my contribution. We see like individual participation as well. Okay, here you can see, okay, you have 5 out of 10, so maybe you can save them and you get 5 more later, or you get 5 more on the second day. I'm not entirely sure. So for offense, you can see I hit everything and I won everything. Defense, we didn't get anything yet. Can we also see for overall stuff, like how many offense hits did we win, how many defense hits did we win? That doesn't seem that way. We can only see, is there anything like that anywhere? Because that's always an interesting factor, seeing like, okay, what defenses are working. But for this, you actually have to zoom in on specific people's defenses to see whether their defenses are working or not. So that's a little bit more annoying. Would be nice if you have like an overview of that as well. But this is still something that they're working on and improving. So there's a whole bunch of things that are probably going to be added on this. Oh, this one, wait. Someone removed his defense that was placed in there. That's pretty annoying. So yeah, if someone removes their defense that's placed in there, it also shows up as a tower with only 4 in there. And I think that happened to 3 over there as well. But yeah, pretty interesting. Also, if I want to attack right now, it would say like I can't attack because I don't have any. You have to place at least 1 monster. If I hit right now, okay, you don't have enough tickets. So I guess you get those tickets of 5 per. And it works kind of the same way as in Sky Arena, that if you have more towers, you get more bonus points for filling up this stuff. But it doesn't necessarily say. In Sky Arena, it also shows like, okay, if you have 13, you take a lot more than when you have 11, for example. That part I'm also not seeing here in this game, so I'm not entirely sure what's the deal with that. We can also, can we see like how it was killed? No, so there's a lot of things in Sky Arena that I would like to see here. Like I would like to click here on this defense and see like, oh, this is how it was killed or something like that. And yeah, actually you can, especially for the 4 stars, you can easily spot if something is unruined. Like this one is very easy because you know 2 unruined units. You just heavily focus on those 2 and you clear it. I think a lot of the 4 stars especially is not going to be ruined. But yeah, a bunch of things that I miss. I want to mark towers that people should hit on. I want to see what they hit with. I want to see, because I don't think I can even see it for myself what I hit with for my offenses, right? No, I cannot see anything. So there's a lot more information that could be given about the siege, which I definitely would like to see. And yeah, let's look at some 4 stars. So a lot of you will be like, "Ooh, I can like even I struggle with like all of the 5 stars, having enough of those." And I spend a decent amount, so I can totally understand that a lot of people are not going to be having all of those in. So what are good 4 stars that you can totally use? I know Raccoony. Well, let's actually put them towards Awakened. Can we actually put them Awakened right away from here? No. I know Raccoony is definitely not bad. It removes debuffs. It has a recovery effect. You want to put like a Swift set on him because he recovers on his S1. That is a pretty decent unit. I know Chloe is of course a very good unit for these 4 star things. I think Antares might be a pretty interesting unit as well because it has the pull, same as what I did with Lynette. You pull everything together, so it's a lot easier to throw AoEs at it. Colleen is pretty nice as a unit because it has the attack up and it also has like unrecoverable and attack down, so that's a pretty decent unit. I'm not too sure about the other ones over here, whether they're good or not. I might be missing a few. I'm just calling out the ones that I know that are good rather than I would guess that are good. Like these kind of things, like a provoke skill cooldown, invis, it's decent, but I would rather use the different version of it. That might be stronger than that one. I do know a bunch of people use the Ikaru for reflect damage and provoke. I think he might be pretty decent as well. He also has damage based on defense, so I think that might be a decent tank. Vigor is definitely a unit that might be interesting because you have a bunch of things. You have the recovery, especially that skill too. It's pretty good for AoE as well because you have attack up, crit rate up with the allies below a certain HP. So that's definitely a 4 star unit that I think is pretty strong. I know Mina is damage mitigation. So against Orbias, Minas will actually kill them even if they have the shield up. So that's pretty interesting. Of course, Lulu is a very good 4 star that definitely can be used. Um, we have what other 4 stars make sense that I know over here. I'm not sure if this one is any good. It does have provokes. I think especially for 4 stars, if you have units with provokes and stuff, that is especially useful. I wouldn't go for the 4 stars for too many attacker units, like for example, like an alien or something. If you have it ruined up, you could use it. But for the 4 stars, I would recommend you to add in units with destroy and units with like some stall-ish kind of meta where you have like a tank or anything like that. Let's look at the winged ones. That might be interesting. Math is definitely one of those tanks that's pretty interesting because it has the remove dot, it has the continuous recovery, skill acceleration, and that provoke, which is very useful. Naomi is probably a unit everyone has, so you might as well use it. Otherwise, units that I see over here, I'm not too familiar with. So that is definitely something to check out. Like, okay, what other units would be like a nice tank over here? Like tanks and supports, what you want to get from those 4 stars, I think, and add those in. If you have them, there's probably some light units. Oh, there's actually a very interesting one that I missed as well. There's some 3 star units that are also very good. I think Bulldozer is probably a unit that is very interesting. That is a unit that people were using early on in the meta. And I think that would definitely be a useful unit for people right now to use as well. Same, of course, for the Konamiya. Konamiya is still a very strong unit that would definitely work. We also have the Shannon. If you still have it, Shannon is for sure a very good support unit that adds in the attack buff, the defense break, also the dev up. So there's a lot of buffs on that. So that's definitely a useful unit. For looking at light units, well, we have Tion, of course, that's going to be used for sure. Very strong unit. Besides that, I do know that this one is supposedly pretty strong. I'm not entirely sure what he does, but I heard this one would be pretty strong. So, okay, skill cooldown. Okay, this is like a Tion kind of style, but then with quite a lot. Okay, this one is pretty good as well. Dona. I know that the Inugami Balation might probably be pretty interesting as well. It doesn't have the armor break in this game, but it still has the recovery to a certain extent. It has the beneficial effect removal, and I think that part is pretty interesting in this for sure. I built an Asher for this. I feel like Asher might be pretty interesting. Asher doesn't have any heals in this game, but he has a good amount of damage dealing, and he has a good amount of strips. So definitely the strips. You're going to be fighting a lot of Shushus, which of course is very good for this as well in the 4 stars. But to get rid of those immunities, I think an Asher is pretty strong. Dova, of course, is very strong. I think Lauren might also be pretty strong, but you have to build her to a certain tank. I think Moomin Rider, which is a tank that everyone should have, that is definitely usable. AV is more of a PvE counter unit, so I'm not really sure if AV is that great in this. But you could maybe use it because most people will have her. We move on to the Dark Ones. Dark Ones, net 3s, anything that I'm familiar with. I wouldn't really recommend to use Helia. I think Helia would very much just die towards the enemy summoner. You could say that, are these great? No, it also doesn't seem too good. If we look at the 4 stars, maybe once again this one, it has a HP recovery and it applies death down. So I think Kuna, all of them, like the Penguin Knight, seem pretty good. Griffin is it damage by damage taken down, crit rate up? It might be okay, but you would have to build it certainly tanky, I would say. Groa is decent, but I don't think it's very good. King is an option. I'm not sure if it's... Well, if you need 4-star with Oblivion, King is actually pretty good. But does it only apply that to creatures? No, only to creatures. So this is actually not great. No, King, don't use King. King's terrible. Maybe Jolton is good in this, based on max HP and bleeds. Could be interesting, could be interesting. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of units. I don't have all of the 4 stars. I'm not familiar with all of the 4 stars for that reason as well. Ooh, Darien, of course. Darien is also a very good tank for 4 stars, but I also think Jubel is a pretty decent tank for 4 stars. But Darien, for sure, that's a very good tank. And there's probably a whole bunch of more 4 stars that you definitely want to check out. And for that reason, you can still get in your hits, do all of your hits with proper units. And you have to keep in mind, if you switch runes for offense, which I just did, you also have to switch them back. So I switched off the Ariel, that was the set that went to the Theon. And I had my NFL set going towards the Chloe, yes. So you definitely do want to switch those back the moment you have them. And yeah, that's pretty much how it is for Siege. There's a bunch of more things that I would like to see that we currently do not see. Also, a thing to keep in mind is if you cleared a tower and you don't have a really strict siege policy or anything yet, you probably, if you're the last one to hit the tower, you want to fill that tower. So you never end up with a tower that's completely not filled in because, well, that's pretty much the worst thing that can happen. So you definitely do want to check out that always your towers are filled with just whatever defenses. The higher the better. It's as simple as that. There's nothing too specific to it yet, I would say. But the higher things that are set in there, the better it is. Simply as that. Can we see anything else that's like 600k plus? We have one over here. Not the greatest of teams, but it has enough power. So definitely always do check out that you have like a certain amount of power threshold. The teams maybe don't have to make too much sense early on, but it's definitely something you want to check. Okay, we want to have everything ruined at least to be able to, well, do something, right? One more important thing that I just figured out, which I think is very stupid. If we check a defense of an enemy, I can check the stats of the enemy summoner. I think that's too much. You can literally check like what kind of runes they're on. So you can literally check if something is unruined, or, well, you can kind of see it by the power as well, but you can literally see all of the stats. Well, except if something is build damage or not. But if you can see, always check the tower before, so you can see like, okay, this one is Rage Blade, so it's probably Squisher, the rest is all energy, so I probably should be focusing the Feng Yang. Or I could see like, hey, this is an Orbia that's very damage focused, the HP and the defense is pretty low, so I should actually focus the Orbia first. So I would bring in Assassins. So that's definitely a thing you want to check for all of this kind of stuff, and that would really help you out. So that's definitely a tip that you don't want to miss out on. So yeah, that's it for this Siege video. Hope you enjoyed. Also, please check out the sponsor of today's video, which was mentioned earlier. Guys, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.